Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Patmos on Wednesday, it's October the 8th, Wednesday. Good morning. Well, there's some very interesting and I think very good news today about the COVID mRNA vaccine. This may come as a surprise to you because you've probably no doubt heard from lots of people that the mRNA COVID vaccine is terrible and dangerous and doesn't work and it kills people and blah, blah, blah. And as you, I'm sure, know, the CDC has been gutted and replaced by a panel. The ACIP panel is the most vocal anti-vaxxers out there. And RFK is now in charge of everything having to do with Health and Human Services. He fired CDC's director and appointed one of his own people, a venture capitalist, I believe, who's now running CDC. And despite having all of the cards stacked in the anti-vax favor, the CDC at the end of the day voted just the other day and announced their recommendations that everyone over 6 months of age be vaccinated against COVID. Let me say it again. The CDC, the anti-vax CDC, the Robert Malone-led CDC just announced that everyone should be vaccinated, everyone over 6 months of age. If you're an anti-vaxxer, that's got to leave you a little confused. Why would they do that? Why, with a gaggle of committed anti-vaxxers now firmly in charge at CDC, would they end up recommending that you be vaccinated? Here's why. The evidence is just too strong, and the evidence against the vaccination is just too weak. As you may have noticed in the last couple of days, I posted several videos about the actual foundations, the underlying issues with the anti-vax complaints about the mRNA vaccine. And it really boils down to two very flimsy arguments. One, the argument that the biodistribution of the vaccine is a bad thing. And two, the argument that VAERS proves that the vaccine is dangerous. Well, it actually turns out that biodistribution of the vaccine into the lymphatic system is a good thing. That's how you develop immunity. There's no evidence that you can demonstrate, anybody can show any evidence that the biodistribution of the COVID mRNA vaccine is a negative thing. And then, except by citing VAERS, which you can't cite. So the entire argument against the messenger RNA COVID vaccine is on it can't be on more flimsy grounds. It has a pathogenetic theory that doesn't have any evidence of support. And on the clinical side, all that they can offer are VAERS reports, which are unverified, uncorroborated, coincidental, and biased. That's according to the VAERS website. So if the mRNA vaccine was really bad, don't you think that RFK's handpicked anti-vax ACIP would have come out against it and the CDC would not have recommended vaccination? You'd think so. But no, they didn't. Let me say this one more time because this is really important. The CDC, stacked with anti-vaxxers, still recommends that everyone be vaccinated, everyone over 6 months of age, be vaccinated for COVID, against COVID. That means babies over 6 months of age, toddlers, children, school children, high school children, teenagers, young people, old people, with comorbidities, without comorbidities. They actually rejected the Great Barrington Declaration's recommendations. So that I think that tells you something. What does that tell? It tells you that even they can't overcome the evidence. The evidence is enormous. When you look hard at the evidence, that COVID vaccine reduces your risk of death by 90 to 95%. And that is the reason to be vaccinated, to reduce the risk of critical illness, ending up in the ICU, on a ventilator, on ECMO for 2 or 3 months, and emerging from ICU a skeleton of yourself. Or, worse yet, dying. That's why we vaccinate. We don't vaccinate to stop you from getting a mild illness, a runny nose. That's why we don't have a vaccine for the common cold. We're not interested in stopping a mild illness. We vaccinate to stop death. And that's what this vaccine does. And even the anti vaxxers can't overcome that basic fact. So I take it as good news. At the end of the day, the CDC just recommended that you be vaccinated. And you may have to get, depending on where you live, you may have to get an order, a written order from a healthcare provider. And I can tell you that if you live in one such unfortunate location where you have to actually go to a provider to get the vaccine that the CDC just recommended, you can contact Teladoc and other telemedicine companies, and the providers will give you a prescription for the vaccination. But fortunately, in most places, the pharmacists will be able to dispense and give you the vaccine right there. So this is good news. COVID vaccination continues. COVID mRNA vaccination continues. It's recommended. You should get it. Everyone over 6 months of age should get it. Go do that. Do the right thing. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your loved ones and your friends and everyone you come in contact with. The vaccine does reduce the risk of infection, it reduces the risk of transmission, and that's great. But the most important thing is it reduces the risk of death. So, with that, the anti vaxxers are left shaking their heads. Have a great day.